This looks like bread, right? But look closer. The same chemical in this loaf is also used to manufacture yoga mats. Europe banned it. Australia banned it. Singapore criminalized it. A $450,000 fine and up to 15 years in prison. The United States still allows it in your supermarket bread today. That chemical is called azotocarbonamide. It is listed quietly on the ingredients panel in a font size designed not to be read. And this is just the first item on the list. This is not one isolated example. In the United States, you are likely eating food that is banned or tightly regulated in much of Europe. And no one is telling you because technically they do not have to. You paid for the real thing. You did not get it. Here is the system that made it legal. Fake food is a legally defined category in the United States. It looks like food. It is sold like food. But it is chemically or structurally altered to be cheaper, longer lasting, and more profitable. Some examples you probably have in your kitchen right now: pasteurized processed cheese product, non-dairy whipped topping, bacon bits with no bacon, wasabi made entirely from chemicals, vanilla flavoring without a single vanilla bean, and truffle oil that is really just canola oil with a synthetic chemical added to mimic the smell of truffles. And then there is the maple syrup problem. It takes over 40 gallons of maple sap to produce a single jug of real maple syrup. That is why one bottle costs over $10. And that is why your local grocery store is flooded with imitation syrups that contain no maple sap at all. They are cheaper, they last longer, and they are legally allowed to exist right next to the real thing without any obligation to make the distinction obvious. The U.S. processed food industry generates over $1.6 trillion a year. Part of that revenue depends on you not knowing the difference. According to a new analysis led by researchers at Johns Hopkins, more than half of the calories consumed at home by American adults now come from ultra-processed foods. Not processed, ultra-processed. Products so far removed from their original ingredients that the food of your childhood genuinely did taste different. Because it was different. The recipes changed, the ingredients changed, and the law allowed it. The food industry has always found the loophole. The United States does have laws on food labeling. Both the FDA and the Food Safety and Inspection Service have regulations governing what companies can claim on a package. But so long as there have been rules, companies have been quick to find the gap. For example, while the U.S. agreed in a 2006 wine trade agreement to stop labeling sparkling wine as champagne, you can still find California champagne on store shelves today. The agreement had no enforcement mechanism. So the label stayed. Lawsuits have pushed back. A Pop-Tart lawsuit in Chicago was dismissed because a U.S. district judge ruled that no reasonable consumer would believe the filling contained a significant amount of real strawberries based on the image on the package. Think about that for a moment. The legal defense was not that the product was honest. It was that no reasonable person would have expected it to be. The Godiva chocolatier faced a class action lawsuit for its Belgium 1926 packaging despite the chocolate being made in the United States. Consumers argued the label implied Belgian origin and higher quality. The court sided with the consumers. A $20 million settlement followed. But for every case that reaches a settlement, thousands of misleading labels remain on shelves unchanged because no one filed a lawsuit. And here is where the story takes its darkest turn. Some of those canisters of grated Parmesan cheese on your grocery store shelf are not cheese. In 2016, a Bloomberg investigation and subsequent FDA review found that several brands were filling their Parmesan canisters with cellulose, wood pulp, legally added as an anti-clumping agent, but in quantities that in some cases replaced a significant portion of the cheese itself. One brand tested showed no Parmesan DNA at all. The label said Parmesan. The canister contained filler. You paid for the real thing. You did not get it. In the European Union, this cannot happen. Parmigiano Reggiano is a protected designation of origin product. It can only be made in a specific region of Italy using traditional methods. The cows can only eat grass and hay. The cheese must be aged for at least 1 year. A standardized wheel is produced that has not changed in hundreds of years. The product has legal protection not because of a corporate trademark, but because of where it comes from, how it is made, and what it has always been. The European Union's approach to food starts from a different principle: prove it safe first. In the United States, the approach is effectively the reverse: sell it first. If enough people get sick, investigate. If the investigation concludes there is harm, consider a ban. Red dye number 3 was found by the FDA itself to cause cancer in animals in 1990. It was not banned from food until January 2025. 35 years of use in American food after the FDA's own evidence suggested it caused cancer. Titanium dioxide, used in Twinkies and dozens of other American products, was banned by the European Union in 2022 after being classified as a potential carcinogen. It remains in American products today. Brominated vegetable oil, linked to neurological issues, was used in American sports drinks and sodas for decades after Europe banned it. The US finally acted in August 2024, decades behind. The EU does not just regulate additives. It protects the identity of real food with legal force. Champagne can only come from the Champagne region of France. Feta must come from Greece, made from sheep or goat milk. Roquefort blue cheese from France, Bordeaux wine from Bordeaux, Irish whiskey must be distilled in Ireland. These are not brand names. They are legal designations that make imitation illegal. When you buy feta in a European supermarket, you are getting feta. When you buy it in the United States, you may be getting any white, crumbly cheese a manufacturer chose to label that way. The FDA has established standards of identity for over 250 foods. They define what a product must contain to use a particular name. You cannot call yourself a fruit jam if you contain less than 45% fruit. Whole wheat bread must be made with 100% whole wheat flour. These standards helped. They are why Velveeta was required to stop calling itself cheese and is now sold as a pasteurized prepared cheese product. But standards of identity are not about quality, heritage, or freshness. They are about consistency with consumer expectation, which is a much lower bar. The real cost of this system is not just on grocery shelves. One Harvard study found that unhealthy diets result in $50 billion in additional healthcare costs every year. British research in 2023 found that healthy food is typically twice as expensive as less healthy food on a per-calorie basis. Processed foods deliver more calories at a lower price. For families on tight budgets, that is not a choice. It is a constraint. The people least able to avoid ultra-processed food are the people most exposed to its consequences. So while Europe protected real food with real laws, the United States protected corporate innovation and priced real food out of reach for the people who needed it most. You paid for the real thing. You did not get it. Now you know what to look for. Subscribe. And send this to someone who still thinks the label tells the whole story.